Hello, my name is Georganne Ford with the Alpha Center for Divorce Mediation, and I'm here today with Kindra Walker, one of our accountant mediators. And we're thrilled to have Kindra here. We haven't had an accountant here for a while, one of our mediator accountants. And Kindra is going to talk to us today about a topic that's real important because it has to do with our money and our finances, and that is the changes on the child tax credit. So, Kindra, anything you can tell us today is definitely going to be really informational for us. So, please.
Well, again, thank you. Thank you for inviting me today. I'm really happy to be here. So prior to the American Rescue Act of 2021, the child credit was $2,000 per child and could only be, and that was for children who were under 17 and could only be claimed when you actually filed your tax return. Additionally, it was not considered a refundable credit. So the American Rescue Plan Act of 2021 came along and made some changes of that just for 2021.
Okay. So changes on it being refundable?
Well, yeah, so there are a couple of changes. One is that it is refundable. So you might ask, well, what is refundable? And I'll talk a little bit about that. But the other change, the big change, particularly affecting people who are going through the divorce process, is the advanced portion of it, meaning the IRS is started to send out checks on July 15th. So the credit itself went from $2,000 per child under 17 to $3,600, pretty big jump for children under 6, and then $3,000 for children under 18. So it brought in that 17-year-old child that you wouldn't normally get a child credit for. And then they also made it refundable. So what does refundable mean, and why is it important for people who are divorcing? So generally, you have to have earned income to get the tax credit. So if you don't have earned income, then you wouldn't normally get the tax credit. But this year, so for example, let's say you are receiving spousal support or alimony, as it's known. That's not considered earned income. Particularly if it's more recent, not taxable. So therefore, if that was your only source of income, you would not be able to get the child credit. So now, because it is a refundable credit, you don't necessarily have to have earned income to receive that credit. So normally, when you're going through the divorce process and talking about who gets to claim the child credit, it's a pretty complicated calculation, but generally, if you didn't have earned income, you weren't going to get it. So then the other person would generally take the credit. Mm-hmm. And then in some cases, parents can legally give the credit to the other parent. So again, it's pretty complicated. And then so that's part of the complexity that came in this year. The other part of it is the fact that they're making advanced payments, which they don't normally do. So what does that mean? So starting on July 15th, the IRS started sending out checks and/or direct deposits to people's bank accounts based on your most recent filed return. So it could have been 2020 or 2019, if that was the last one that was filed. So if you filed jointly in 2020, and now you're going through the divorce process, you started getting these payments into your bank account. And so that becomes another issue in the divorce as to how do you split that advanced credit? Who's actually getting the cash now, and how does that get split up? So that can get a little hairy.
Quick question. Were people alerted that they were going to get this money in their bank account so they know where it came from?
Well, it's funny. People live busy lives, and there was a lot of press about it. But I would say that similar to the stimulus payments, where people all of a sudden got this, either got a debit card or got a check, and they really weren't exactly sure, why am I getting this? I'm quite certain that there are people who are getting these advanced payments that they're scratching their head.
Right. And the only reason I ask, guys, if one person got the payment, the other person didn't, that's going to come out sometime, right?
It is indeed. So, and again, so generally, if you had filed a 2020 joint return
Okay.
and then decided to file for divorce in 2021, you'd have all of these fine points about who's going to take what finalized or nailed down. But now it's all happening real time. So people may be getting payments while at the same time they're trying to negotiate their divorce settlement. So my strong recommendation, so you do have the option to avoid these payments.
Oh,
Avoid getting the future payments. And so you may have received the July 15th payment, which was a catch-up payment for the first 6 months. And then you also, but you can't opt out of future payments by going to the IRS website. And that, so you'll have that initial payment that you'll have to decide how you split that up as part of the divorce. But at least the future payments won't continue to come in.
so that I'm just thinking that could be part of the mediation process, I bet.
Absolutely, absolutely. In terms of, where did that cash go? Where is it? And, how do we split it up? And then how do we actually claim the credits on our tax return, the additional credit? One thing I didn't point out is that the refundable piece, or the advanced piece of it, I should say, is only 50% of the credit. So if it's $3,000 per, let's say you have one child, it's $3,000, you're only going to get $1,500 in advance payments. And then you're going to have to ask for the rest when you file your tax return.
Oh, okay.
So pretty complicated this year.
It is, but you made it easier to understand, because I had a lot of questions, so I'm sure whoever's watching this, is learning a lot as well.
Yeah, and the other thing that always makes it a little bit complicated. So this is supposed to be just for 2021. It's not. It's supposed to go back to the $2,000 and the under 17 and non-refundable. All of the rules prior to 2021 are supposed to go back in place for 2022 and beyond. I have heard some murmurs that if it tends to be popular, and again, it's obviously more money in people's pockets per child, that there may be some appetite to expand this beyond 2021. So we'll have to keep our eyes on that. And based on some of the last minute gifts that we've been given from the IRS/Congress over the last few years, I'm assuming that we'll hear something in December. That's not exactly true, but if there is an expansion of it, or an extension of it, I should say, probably we'll hear about it later this year. So keep your ears open.
Well, Kindra, these were really helpful updates. And we will be looking to see if they carry this through for next year, because it sounds like it would really help a lot of people with their child care, etc. payments.
Yes, and there were some also, speaking of dependent care or taking daycare costs. There were some modifications and increases to what could be deducted for daycare expenses, childcare expenses, as part of the American Rescue Plan Act of 2021. So look for that as well.
I was just thinking that could be we could have you on again and learn more about that.
Oh, I'd love to come back.
Excellent. Excellent. Thanks so much for taking the time to
Absolutely
update us on this tax credit, and especially about this advanced payments, because we wouldn't have known. And thank you. And for anybody who's listening and wants more information, wants to talk to Kindra for additional questions, contact the Alpha Center for Divorce Mediation at 1-800-310-9085. Thank you, everyone, for coming to listen. And Kindra, thank you again.
Oh, thanks for having me.